Alien, Isolation, Xenomorph always knew where you were. The entire time. The scariest artificial intelligence in gaming history is, secretly, a cheat, and that's exactly why it works. There's a second system hiding inside that game. Not the alien itself. Something above it. A hidden layer that watches you, measures your stress, and quietly conducts the whole experience in real time. Designers call it an intensity director. It's not a difficulty slider. A difficulty slider is a dumb dial. A director is a conductor. It reads the player and reacts, so the tension gets performed live instead of hard-coded. The best games of the last 15 years all have one. Yours probably doesn't. Let's fix that. Picture a survival horror level built the normal way. You place 20 enemies by hand. You put ammo in a locker. You script a jump scare at the doorway. Ship it. The first player walks through and jumps, the second player walks through and jumps, the third player watched a walkthrough, knows where every enemy stands and walks through bored. By the second hour of your game, every player has learnt the pattern. The tension is dead because the level is static. Static means solvable. Solvable means boring. Now run the same level under a director. The director watches a rolling buffer of what's happening to the player. Damage taken, enemies spotted, time since the last safe moment. It turns all of that into a single number, intensity. When intensity drops too low, the director spends from a budget and spawns a threat. When intensity has been pinned at the ceiling for too long, it opens a valve and gives relief. Ammo, a safe room, a breath. Left 4 Dead shipped this idea. 2 players can run the identical map back to back and get completely different games. The horde hits at different moments. The health pack shows up when one run is desperate and when the other is already comfortable. The map is the same, the experience is not, and it works because nothing in that level is fixed. Every spawn, every pickup, every breath of room gets decided on the fly, in response to a live read of the player. That's the whole promise. You stop authoring the exact moment something happens. You author the shape of a good session and you build a system that defends that shape no matter what the player does. Every director, no matter the game, is built from 3 pieces. Learn these 3 and you can build one yourself. First, the intensity meter. This is just a rolling score of how stressed the player is right now. You track events over a sliding window, say the last 30 seconds, damage taken, enemies in view, shots fired, time since the player last felt safe. You normalize all of it into a single value between 0 and 1. That's your intensity. Left 4 Dead tracks this per player and blends it across the team. The number is crude. It doesn't need to be smart. It needs to be reactive. The beauty is, it doesn't care why the player is stressed, only that they are. 2 players with totally different styles both produce the same signal. That's what lets the director work for everyone. Second, the tension budget. Think of tension as a resource the director spends. The budget refills slowly over time. When intensity drops below a floor, the director spends budget to spawn a threat and push intensity back up. When intensity has been stuck at the ceiling for too long, the director does the opposite. It opens relief, it holds the next spawn, it drops a medkit. You're not picking what spawns, you're picking when the game is allowed to be cruel and when it's forced to be kind. The art is the rhythm, peaks and valleys. A flat line at maximum tension numbs people. A flat line at 0 puts them to sleep. You want a pulse, Left 4 Dead bakes that pulse into every map. You step out of a safe room, the director lets you breathe for a beat, then it notices your intensity drifting low and triggers a mini horde. You scramble, someone takes damage, intensity spikes. The director pulls back, lets you limp to the next safe room, and hands you a health kit right when you're sure you're about to die. That relief is engineered. It's not a reward you found. It's a gift the director timed. Third, the hint layer. This is the part everyone gets wrong, and it's the secret to why Alien Isolation feels fair when it shouldn't. That game runs 2 brains on the Xenomorph. The microbrain is the alien you actually see. It has senses, it hears noise, it sees movement, it searches the last place it noticed you, like a real hunter would. It does not cheat. Above it sits the macro brain. This one knows where you are always, and it uses that knowledge to feed the alien hints. It points the alien at the right neighborhood. It drops cues that lure it into your search zone. It tightens or loosens the leash based on difficulty. But here's the critical part. It never hands your exact position to the microbrain. It nudges, it stages coincidences. The alien still has to actually find you. If you stay quiet and move smart, you can watch it walk past, inches away, completely unaware. That moment is real. The director only controls where the alien tends to look. What happens inside that search zone is still up to the creature's own senses and up to you. The player feels hunted by a brilliant, independent creature. In reality, an invisible conductor is making sure you two keep bumping into each other at the perfect pace. That gap between what the player feels and what the system actually does is the entire trick. Influence the agent, never puppeteer it. The moment the player senses they're being railroaded, the illusion dies and the game feels cheap. And here's the part that should rewire how you think about difficulty. You don't make Alien harder by making the alien smarter. You make the leash shorter. On hard mode, the macro brain keeps the alien in your neighborhood longer. It feeds hints faster. The creature ducks into a vent and comes back sooner. Its intelligence is identical on every setting. Only the director's generosity changes. That's a far better model than bumping up enemy health bars. You're tuning the experience, not the spreadsheet. You can bolt a director onto an existing project in a weekend. Here's the shape. Start with the intensity meter. Keep a ring buffer of recent events. Every time the player takes damage, gets spotted, fires a weapon, or enters a dangerous zone, push an event with a weight and a timestamp. Once per second, sum the weights with exponential decay, so recent events count more than old ones. Divide by a normalizer. You now have an intensity value between 0 and 1. That's 30 lines of code, and it's the heart of the whole system. Next, the budget. Give the director a tension pool that refills at a fixed rate. Set two thresholds on your intensity value. A floor. If intensity falls below it, the player is getting bored. So spend some budget and spawn a threat. And a ceiling dwell timer. If intensity has been above the ceiling for more than a few seconds straight, the player is drowning. So open relief. Hold spawns. Spawn a pickup. Drop the ambient music a notch. That floor and ceiling pair is where all your tuning lives. You're not editing 1,000 enemy placements anymore. You're moving two numbers until the session feels right. Move the floor up and the game feels relentless because threats trigger before the player ever gets bored. Move it down and you get dead air, long quiet stretches where nothing hunts. Move the ceiling up and the relief stops coming so players burn out. Move it down and the game feels easy because every spike gets cushioned. Two sliders. The entire feel of your game lives in them. For a game with an autonomous enemy, a monster, a stalker, anything that hunts, add the hint layer. Your enemy AI should make its decisions from its own senses, period. Separately, run a small system that knows the player's real position. Have it emit a probable location, not the exact one. Pick a search zone around the player, randomize its size by difficulty, and feed that zone to the enemy as a soft prior. The enemy weights it among its other inputs. Sometimes it goes there, sometimes it gets distracted. The player can still break line of sight and genuinely lose the thing. That fragility is what makes it feel alive. Then author the shape. Before you tune a single number, write down what a great 15-minute session looks like as a curve. A slow build, a spike, a valley to breathe, a bigger spike, a long relief at the end. That curve is your spec. Everything you tune should make the director produce that curve regardless of how the player behaves. If the player plays badly, the director pulls its punches early, so the spikes still land on schedule. If the player cruises, the director spends harder. You're not designing encounters anymore. You're designing a feeling and building a system that enforces it. Most designers skip the curve. They build the director, wire it up, and then stare at a playtest wondering why it feels random. It feels random because they never told it what a good session looks like. Without that spec, your director is just a thermostat with the dial missing. Technically working, totally aimless. One tuning tip that saves months. Instrument everything. Log intensity and every director decision to a file with timestamps. After each playtest, graph intensity over time and lay it next to your target curve. You'll see instantly whether your problem is a floor too high, boring stretches that never trigger spawns, or a ceiling too low, players suffocating for the whole session. Reading that graph is 10 times faster than replaying the level. Most devs never build the graph, and it's the single biggest reason their director never feels right. None of this is heavy engineering. It's a buffer, two thresholds, and a hint emitter. The code isn't the hard part. The hard part is that the right numbers only show up after dozens of hours of playtesting. Hold that thought. 3 mistakes ruin directors. 1. Letting the director puppeteer. The second you teleport the alien onto the player or spawn a zombie inside their hitbox, the player feels it, fairness evaporates. The whole illusion is the gap between influence and control. Protect that gap like it's the product, because it is. 2. No valleys, new designers crank the ceiling and leave it there. Constant maximum tension doesn't make a game scarier, it makes it numbing. The relief beat is what makes the next spike land. If you cut the valleys, you've sawn off your own peaks. Even the Alien Isolation team have said their game runs too long and the aliens stop scaring people in the back half. That's a pacing failure of the director, not the monster. 3. Tuning once and shipping. A director is never right on the first pass. It's never right on the fifth. It's a system that only reveals its problems across long play sessions. If you don't budget weeks of playtest and tune cycles, your director ship's broken and nobody can explain why the game feels off. Here's where it gets fun. The director is already an AI, so use AI to build it. A large language model is a fantastic judge of intensity. Feed it your playtest telemetry, the event log, the intensity curve, the director's decisions, and ask it to label which stretches felt flat, which spikes came too early, which valleys dragged. It'll do in minutes what takes a human a day of scrubbing video. Claude Code or Cursor can generate the spawner variations and parameter sweeps, then run them against your log to find the threshold numbers that best match your target curve. You focus on the design call. The AI does the combinatorics. And the sharpest move, run AI playtest agents through the level before humans ever see it. Let them stress test the peaks and valleys. You catch the broken tuning in simulation overnight for free. We're building adaptive systems exactly like this inside AI Craft. Real game projects where people use AI tools to run and tune their directors, skip the 100 hours of manual playtesting, and ship games that feel alive instead of authored. Come join the community and build one alongside us. Please feel free to subscribe and check out the links in the description below.